So everybody coming into this video is gonna be really confused because I usually make gaming videos or comic reviews, and this is gonna seem like something out of left field. Well, this is another one of my school projects. Like I have a few other school projects on this channel, and then people that usually come for the gaming videos are gonna be like, "What the hell is this video?" And people from school are going to come in here and be confused seeing the other videos I make. And fair warning, in some of the gaming videos, we aren't exactly like as civilized as one would be in a school class when it's like me and my friends joking around in games. So yeah, there's a lot more swearing than there would be in this video.
So here is the big problem with the world these days. Feminism.
No, I'm just kidding. Feminism itself is not the problem. Absolutely not. That was a joke. Don't cancel me. Um, the problem, the actual problem, is kind of the
that you had you
this like false twisted version of feminism that's been going around. Like there's a lot of misinformation going around. There are there are some people that believe feminism just means putting women above men, and that's not true. That's not what real feminism is about. Real feminism just literally just means equality. But a lot of people right now really believe that feminists just want women to be above men, and some people that call themselves feminists just want to be put on a pedestal above men. Like there's always going to be some people that 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 take a good idea and like twist it into something messed up. And I think one big way that this misinformation is being spreaded, this false idea about feminism just being about women being better than men. I think one big thing that is spreading misinformation about feminism and turning would-be feminists away from feminism is how it's falsely portrayed in movies. Now, not like every movie company does this, but it's mostly Disney that 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 does this mistake that I'm about to explain. But Disney makes like 90% of the movies that come out these days. Like I work at a theater, and we can show like 7 movies at a time, and like most of the time, 2 or 3 out of those 7 movies will be something from Disney. So they dominate the movie industry with a monopoly company. So if the people in charge of Disney make a mistake, that's going to show in all of their movies, which will show in like most of the big hit movies that come out these days. Well, I mean, like, geez, how do I say this without getting canceled? Um, I mean, like, I consider myself a feminist. I believe in equal rights. I believe in women being on the same level as men. Like, I believe in all that stuff. But there are some people. There's always going to be some people that think men just are better than women, and that's sexist. That's not right. But there are also some people that just think women are better than men. Like, there's always going to be sexist people in the world. That's inevitable. And it just sometimes seems like the Disney movies are trying to say that. Like, it's really obvious to me that Disney doesn't actually care about these issues about race and gender and equality and stuff. They obviously don't care about that stuff. They just care about money. And the way that they're going to get that money is by looking like they care. Like it's obvious. Like I know a bullshit when I see one. Like it's really obvious that with Disney's like go woke strategy, it's obvious that their heart isn't in. It just looks like this to me. It looks like their heart isn't in these messages most of the time. It just looks like they're just trying to say the right thing that will get them like the support of all the liberals. Like they obviously just want to pander. They just want to do whatever strategy they think would make them the most money. Like they don't actually care about issues. At least that's how it looks to me. It looks like they just pretend to care to get money, and that's why their portrayal of that's why a lot of companies' portrayal of feminism is failing and doing a disservice to feminism. But I mean, like, come on. Did you? I hate to burst your bubble, but did you really think? Did you really think that Disney actually like cared about things that mattered? I mean, like, seriously, look who they're still named after. Look.
Back, Mr. Disney.
Are the Jews gone yet?
No.
Put me back in.
Like that guy. You think? And like, why don't they just change their name? Why does it still have to be Disney Studios? I mean, like, if your name was Hitler Studios, would you change that name? Probably would. Why do you still gotta name it after that guy? Okay, so the big problem with the modern movies mostly is how women are portrayed.
While the final chapter was the horniest Friday, A New Beginning is the sleaziest. The women can hardly manage to keep their clothes on, and the camera lingers to take it all in like a filthy peeping Tom.
No, I'm not talking about like that way. But yes, that is also another really big problem in movies. I'm talking about the other way that they're portrayed in movies.
But don't worry, like a good little toxic male slowly learning his place in the garbage section of any narrative, Mando is quickly handing over the storyline and heroics to the superior character, 9-year-old Princess Leia from the Kenobi series, who easily bests her captors in this amazing chase scene, and Reva, who, say it with me, is a self-taught powerful warrior. Yes, exactly.
I mean, this way. The lack of writing. I mean, yeah, I'm all for strong, independent woman characters, but, you know, they just need to be... the writers just need to treat them as importantly as the male characters. They don't give them good writing they deserve. It's like they're not the same as, like, older female action heroes. The ones we get nowadays, it's like the writers just think being a woman is character development enough. And fighting the patriarchy is their big heroic origin story. Like, that's not even trying. Like, you need to actually... It's like the writers don't try with female characters like they do with male characters. And then those writers, their lack of talent, they put their insecurities on their own audience and call the audience sexist for not liking their writing and their characters. They lack one of the most... Female heroes in movies these days, most of them... end up lacking probably the most fundamental trait a hero or a protagonist needs. And that would be, damn it, I'm gonna edit this out. So this video is about how modern Hollywood does a disservice to feminism because of the incompetent way female characters are written. Now, the reason I'm putting this part before the video is I want to let you guys know a disclaimer. This is not, I don't think every movie is doing this. It's mostly just Disney. Like, there are still a lot of really good, well-written female characters coming out in modern movies, such as, I forget her name, but Michelle Gomez's character in Fast and the Furious 10. I liked her. A lot of women in horror movies are usually pretty good, like Sharni Vincent's character in Your Next, and Betty Giplin's character in The Hunt. Laurie Strode, Sidney Prescott. Horror movies seem to be immune to this problem. Horror movies don't seem to be producing Mary Sue-like characters. But, there are some, and Avatar, Neytiri in Avatar was really good. So not all movies are doing this, but a lot of them are doing this problem that I'm about to explain. But a couple still are not falling victim to this style of writing, and that's good that we still have a few good female heroes in modern cinema, but not as many as we need to have. When they are the protagonists, the writers usually don't give their female heroes growth or flaws or character development. And when they're the villain, they always try to write them about how they're secretly been the hero all along, because they never want to... we don't get strong female villains like Hela from Thor Ragnarok anymore. You get characters that they try to write how they were always in the right. For example, let's look at Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. One of the main characters in that, America Chavez, her hero's journey in the film was basically just, she didn't have to learn to control her powers. She was doing everything right the whole time, and she just had to believe in herself. There's no sense of growth or learning how to control her powers. She was just always the best because the movie says so. and everyone else was just holding me back. Now take the main villain, Scarlet Witch, an awesome villain in the Marvel Universe, tortured an entire town, killed an entire Sanctum Sanctorum, and tried to murder a kid for her own selfish gain. But in the end of the movie, she's portrayed as the hero because she stopped doing those things. She stopped trying to kill America Chavez after she lost the fight against her. And oh my god. No female character can ever be they're like, why don't you like female villains in movies? Well, because you never allow them to be villains. Because you don't want to portray women as in the wrong, even when they're the villains in the script of your movie. Motherfuckers in WandaVision be talking about how
they'll never know what you sacrificed for them.
We don't have female villains because the writers don't allow them to be villains. We don't have good female heroes because the writers don't allow them to be heroes. They don't give them the kind of personal... The writers never gave Rey the same kind of personal growth and character development that Luke had. They didn't do anything interesting with her character, and that problem carries over to lots of movies that Disney makes starring women. It's almost like they're just using it as a shield from criticism, because like whenever you say anything bad about The Last Jedi, the people come in and they're like, oh, you didn't like The Last Jedi? Are you some kind of sexist? Do you hate women? No, you don't hate women. So then take back what you said about The Last Jedi's script being clunky. Because if you have anything bad to say about my movie, then you are a sexist. Like, it's a waste of the actress's talent. Like, even the actresses are, like, sick of this stuff. Like, Emily Blunt literally comes out and says, like, there's nothing more annoying than looking at a description of the character you're playing and it just says strong independent woman. Like, because that means that Disney is that just means that your movie company is just writing a character that is like wins at everything the plot needs them to win, never earns anything, just everything is given to that character when they never show that the heroic traits that they deserve those things. Like they And then when you call them out on this stuff, they cancel you and say that you're a sexist. Like it's like the writers are projecting their own insecurities onto you. Like they know that they didn't do a good job writing this character. So if anyone says anything bad about their movie, they lash out and they say everyone that didn't like that movie is a sexist. One of the things that makes Luke Skywalker one of the most fan-favorited Star Wars characters is the fact of how his adventure changes him over the course of 3 films. He starts out as a wide-eyed, naive farm boy who has never held a lightsaber, and like his first fight, he's not so good in it. It takes him 2 movies in before he's in his first real saber duel, and he wasn't ready to face his destiny then because he hadn't finished his training. Even after facing his fears in his cave, he still had a lot more to grow and learn, and he barely makes it out alive. And years pass in between the second and third film, and Luke has matured, become an intelligent Jedi Knight, and thinks things through before going in blind and unprepared, and letting his emotions get the better of him. Rey starts out the film as a street-smart scavenger who has her own unique skill set, but then also is just good at everything the plot needs her to be. She wins every battle, never learns anything new, but instead teaches her teachers things. She ends her journey at the end of the 3rd movie. She's basically at the same skill set she was at the beginning of the 1st movie. You don't see how she grew and changed over time, and that's why people don't like Rey. Like, it's like she's an empty character that the writers don't try to do anything interesting with. My point is these modern female heroes, or Mary Sues, we can call them, they never learn anything. They're never allowed to fail to grow. And either the reason of that could be because they're just trying to pander, or they're trying to do it wrong on purpose, so that when people come out and call them out on this style of writing, they can just call them a sexist, and then that person gets canceled and their review gets like lumped in with bigotry, and then all that's left are the positive reviews, so Disney's projects are free of slander. It could be that, or it
could be because just lack of talent. They only do and then style of storytelling instead of therefore and because of style of storytelling. That's just the reason why most people don't like characters like Rey. Me personally, I don't hate her as much as everybody does. I think she's all right. She doesn't deserve all the hate she gets. I'd say she's about as good of a Jedi to me as, say, Ki-Adi-Mundi, Eth Koth, Sashi Tin, Adi Galliard, maybe even Cal Kestis, but, she's not at the level of Plo Koon, Kit Fisto, Mace Windu, Shak Ti, Luminar Undula, Aayla Secura, and Quinlan Vos. Know what I mean? They used to do it right with characters like Sarah Connor back in the day, who started out as just an average, relatable, nobody waitress, but after the events of the first film, had time to grow and prepare for the apocalyptic future, had time to train her body and mind, but this cost her a healthy relationship with her son, and she had to work on regaining that in T2. It feels like... So she had a flaw. She had lack of faith in humanity, and she had to kind of regain being able to feel and care for the human race, and stuff, but... she had to regain some trust. But it seems like modern Hollywood doesn't want to give female characters shortcomings because they're afraid that that would be portraying their women characters as weak. But they don't seem to understand that, a character has to fail or have a shortcoming that they can grow or overcome in a movie. And that's one of the most core elements of a character. And we're not seeing that in a lot of these modern female heroes. That makes it just and what the message that gives to audiences is it feels like the movie is just trying to say women will just be the best at everything because feminism, and that's most people are just meeting that with scorn. Like, it's unfair that they are giving female characters they're a lack of good writing, a lack of character development and growth. It's a waste of the actress's time. Like, Daisy Ridley, after Star Wars, no big companies would hire her. She couldn't really get a job anywhere else. Now she's got to come crawling back to Star Wars for the Rey movie. It's honestly sometimes it's like like Disney is trying to make a bad movie so that they can hate bait their own audience and then say, look, everyone is being sexist. That means our movie is good because it's fighting the patriarchy. No. You don't give a shit about the patriarchy. You just care about money, Disney. Or prove me wrong. Like, I want there to be good female characters, but you gotta work with me, Disney.
I'm going to play another short clip of the YouTube channel Baggage Claim because I think she perfectly just sums up what Disney's process for characters in their Phase 4 movies are. And, yeah... Even some women are not agreeing with the style of writing for some of the modern female characters. Even it's not always just guys saying, "Oh, they're not writing female characters right." I see a lot of women on YouTube making videos like this one talking about how modern writing is doing a disservice to feminism.
Stories in Phase 4 is their predictability. I can tell the plot and characterizations of the stories in one single line. Men no good unless they're a minority.
Do not forget your place.
Women good. And even if women bad, women good.
They'll never know what you sacrificed for them.
Let's go through it. In Black...
So, when female characters are villains and you never allow them to be true villains and true evil, you always got to try to make them redeemed in the end. Or you always got to make the hero always win and never learn or have personal growth. That's how you have weakly written characters. And that is the problem with a lot of these modern female characters in movies, is they are not given the proper character development and writing that a lot of the male characters are getting. And another way with their female characters, how this is destroying feminism, is a lot of these characters are just kind of carbon copies of existing male heroes. Rey showed a lot of similarities with Luke, but she was kind of Luke without Luke's personal growth. That makes for a clunky character. And the way they try to make you like Rey in Last Jedi is by showing how she's better than Luke during the training session, how she's more powerful than Luke. And here's what I think about that. If the way that you have to make your character be cooler than the character that they're based off of, if the only way that you are going to do that is by tearing down the existing character, then that just shows that you yourself don't believe the character actually is better than the other character, and you have to tear the character down to make that's literally admitting that you yourself don't think you wrote a good character. And they aren't given... Let's look at some of the character growths. Let's take a look at the most well-known Marvel male hero and the most well-known Marvel female hero. For male, that would be... Let's look at their origin stories. For male, that would be Spider-Man. He uses his powers for selfish gain originally, but then someone close to him dies, and he learns about great power, great responsibility, and all that stuff. Now look at Captain Marvel. Her origin was saving an Air Force pilot from a plane crash and absorbing solar energy. And in the Captain Marvel movie, the big character growth moment in her hero's journey was basically this. Every time she fell down and got a boo-boo and people said, "Get out of here, you don't belong," well, she always got back up. Every time she fell down, she always stood back up. Like, come on. What really boils my blood is, look at this. So, Batman. Parents gunned down in front of him in an alleyway as a little kid. He never overcame that kind of trauma, and he always kept even his closest friends at an arm's length. Superman, sent to Earth while his whole family and his entire planet blows up, and he's got to live as an outsider on an alien planet his whole life and grow up different from everybody else. Spider-Man originally used powers for selfish gain. Someone close to him died because of something he could have stopped. He learned responsibility. And Spawn, betrayed by his own best friend, sent to hell, but then makes a deal with the devil just to see the love of his life again. And then Captain Marvel, every time she falls down, scrapes her knee, falls off her bike as a kid, scrapes her knee, she stood up. She-Hulk, people catcall her on the street. And then the writers, when they are the ones that write their male superheroes' origin stories this way versus they write their female superheroes' origin stories some other way, and then they have the audacity to call us the sexist when they're the ones giving the better origin stories to the male superheroes, and then they take that out on us? Like, that's fucked up. Like, it's like the writers aren't even trying with their female characters. And don't even get me started on the lack of originality. Like, look, most of the characters in Marvel, like, you got Ironheart, which is just a girl version of Iron Man. You have She-Hulk, which is like a girl version of Hulk. You have Kate Bishop, girl version of Hawkeye. Like, why don't they use original characters that aren't based off existing characters? Because most of these characters don't have what originally made the male counterpart character compelling. She-Hulk does not have the struggle with another half and have to control her anger. Ironheart does not have the crippling alcoholism and the overinflated ego. Why do they have to use... They do have some good original female characters like Elsa Bloodstone and Thena, but they should be using more characters like that. More characters that are not based off of... Marvel should be using... Marvel is trying to get more representation for female heroes out there, and that's a good thing. But instead of using characters that are basically carbon copies of existing heroes, they should use more original characters like Elektra or Squirrel Girl. I mean, you have the X-Men now. You can use like Storm, Rogue, Shadowcat, Psylocke, Jubilee, Phoenix, Polaris, Morrow, Magic, Yugo Girl, Mercury, Blindfold, Bling, Venus de Milo, Moonstar, Wolfsbane, Domino, Magma, M, Dazzler, Sage, Surge, Armor, Lifeguard, Dagger, Blink, Dead Girl, Jin Genie. Yeah, saying that out loud, I'm kind of realizing most of the female heroes in Marvel Comics that weren't just based off of an existing male hero are literally just all the X-Men characters. Now that I think about it, this is actually a problem that dates all the way back to the 60s. Them not being able to make a lot of female heroes that are original. I mean, DC, it's a little bit better. You don't have that problem. It's not as big of a problem in DC. I mean, yeah, you have Batgirl and Supergirl, who most people don't like as much as Batman and Superman. But other than them, you have a lot of original ones like Black Canary, Wonder Woman, Vixen, Zatanna, Katana, Starfire, Big Barda, Tough Bunny from the Inferior Five. But yes, for the most part, when comic creators or movie creators design a female hero, they usually just make a girl version of an existing male hero that lacks one of the core elements of that character, and then expect people to like that character more. And when they don't, they're called sexists. Like, it's a vicious cycle. Nowadays, it almost even seems like when a female is casted in a Marvel movie, it almost seems like they aren't doing that because they're trying to stand up for feminism. It almost looks like that. It almost appears that they're trying to just use this as a safeguard against criticisms against their writing, so they can call any criticisms to be fueled by sexism, which is not true, because people actually want them to make good female characters. And what the writers tend to do here is they try to tear down the male character and make it seem like whatever tragic backstory they went through is nothing compared to what the average women have to deal with every day.
To explain what I mean by that is, I'm like, for example, She-Hulk, you have the character of Hulk who went through, he lived in a broken home with an abusive father. He had to deal with the second half of Hulk. He literally tried to kill himself, but Hulk spit out the bullet. He was lost on an alien planet for years, so Hulk went through a lot. And there's that infamous scene in She-Hulk where she says, "I'm great at controlling my anger because people catcall me," or something like that, and I'm better at controlling my anger than you. That is gonna make people mad, because showing She-Hulk downplay Hulk's problems when the audience that knows Hulk actually did go, like, we're not trying to say that women don't go through hardships. They definitely do. But when you have the character of She-Hulk downplay Hulk's problems and act like her problems are worse than his, the audience knows that's not true, because they know that Hulk has went through worse than the average human. And when you have She-Hulk downplay Hulk's problems, that's going to have the audience not relate to She-Hulk, and that's going to have the audience start downplaying She-Hulk's problems, which is going to have some people think that the problems that women go through aren't that bad and are over-exaggerated. And that is how this is doing a disservice to feminism.
Writers in Disney will get away with this terrible writing and lack of talent time after time because they just audience blame. Any valid criticism on a Disney project, they just play the sexism card. It's actually a really smart tactic. Just cancel anybody that has any criticism on your project, and all that's left are the people that liked your project. I mean, it is an admirable... I mean, you do have a few people that have the admirable goal of promoting feminism and modern storytelling, but I feel like sometimes those writers kind of get lost when they're writing the script. They kind of get lost in their passion, and they can just kind of be writing with too much emotion and make it feel like they're just preaching to their audience, and that usually is met with scorn by audiences. I mean, usually, when you want to get political in a movie, you're supposed to use subtlety, teach a message to an audience without them knowing it. I mean, if you're going to go to the freaking Lego movie, you're going there to escape the bullshit and politics of the real world, not to be reminded by it. And this is why people are so sick of politics in their movies. Here's the real kicker. This is how it is turning people away from feminism. And here's the real kicker. First of all, most people these days learn most of the stuff they know of the outside world from movies and TV. Nobody wants to admit it, but especially after COVID, most of what people in Gen Z know in the outside world is TV and movies. And most of TV and movies is Disney, and most of Disney is Marvel, and Marvel does most of the things I've said so far, which sets a standard for things, and people come to expect it. And the overstating of the politics in your face and the lack of subtlety and the overportrayal of problematic men causes many audiences to see this portrayal of feminism as man-hating. And since movies is most dumbasses these days' main source of information, their naive and impressionable minds end up believing that that's what real feminism is. And that is how the misinformation is spread, that feminism is about putting women over men, but it's actually about making them equal. But the damage is done. This kind of thing is what people have come to expect from movies. So now people won't go see female-led movies because they think they're going to be like this.
I mean, come on. Women deserve better representation in movies. You need to stop making characters like the Rings of Power version of Gladriel and go back to making characters like Tank Girl, Captain Janeway, or Sonya Blade. Make more characters like that. People love those characters. I love those characters.
I still give them the benefit of the doubt and see every Marvel project. They're okay most of the time, but they always end up being about a lot of politics and have a lot of cringy moments. But fortunately, I have a high tolerance of cringe. I mean, I have to. How else would I live with myself? So it doesn't bother me that much. Well, the cringe itself doesn't, but the fact that they can't write good female characters and then blame us for their bad writing, but calling us bigots, that's what pisses me off. And it ends up just turning people away from feminism because it makes them think that feminists are just people that want women to be better than men at everything, which is not true. They want them to be equal.